welcome to Obsessive Audio. Eric here. Good to see you again. The guitar madness continues. This time it's a new release from SoundDrops. Just released a little while ago. It is Kent. Now this is called Kent, of course, because Kent was the region in the UK that spawned this particular amplifier. SoundDrops in the past released one called Surrey. Now Surrey, of course, was a high watt. And Kent, as you can see here, looks very much like an AC30, and in fact it was sampled from a vintage AC30. And I say sampled because Kent is a Nebula library, and it uses the Nebula Volterra technology to actually sample analog gear. Is it an impulse response? No, it isn't. In fact, I would say it sounds quite superior, especially when it comes to speaker, cabinet, and room sounds. I don't think anything in the digital world has this technology beat for that, and you're going to hear what I mean. Now, about the particular unit of AC30 that was sampled, the manual says it's located in a studio in Italy that's frequented by all kinds of musical British royalty. So a pretty classic unit, and a good chance you've heard this on recordings. So I want to do a walkthrough of the plugin. We can hear how awesome it sounds, and before the walkthrough, let's just play an example, like right now. So I've got a session here with Nebula running, Kent's loaded up in it. Here's a guitar DI. First, let's just hear the basic DI. And now let's turn on Kent. Let's give it some room sound. So right away I heard the classic AC30 sound. There's a clarity to it that's really nice, and then the room on top of that, just gorgeous. So let's do a quick walkthrough of the controls. Up here you've got your two inputs, normal and brilliant, just like on the amp. Treble and bass control, and a cut control. Treble and bass, self-explanatory, however, I should note that they only work on the brilliant when the brilliant channel is up. So they only affect the brilliant channel. If you're just running a sound with normal on it, then these two knobs won't do anything. But if you've got brilliant in the mix, and we do on this sound, these will control treble and bass. Cut cuts out the high frequencies. It starts rolling them off more and more as you increase it. So if you're getting a sound that's a little bit buzzy, a little bit fizzy, cut is your best friend. Output is a straight digital output. You don't want to go too hot on the output on this amp. It does have a limiter at +1 decibels. And in fact, if you go to, I'll show you these lights here. If you go too loud, so you can hear see those lights going on and a bit of clipping. It's like, yeah, you don't want that. You do not want those lights on this. Those are for indication purposes only. That's why the knob is red, so use it. Now the amp and cabinet switches just turn the amplifier stage off. So here you would have only the cabinet, or the cabinet on and off. So here you would have no cabinet, just the amp. Down here, you've got two microphones. Microphone 1 is a 57. Microphone 2, manual says that it's an Austrian condenser microphone. I'm assuming it's a 414. Now each microphone has a volume and a pan. It's very nice to be able to take two different mics and pan them out. And these switches, and the switch is for speaker A or speaker B. Of course, the AC30 does have two speakers. So both speakers were mic'd with both of the microphones. So that's a mix and match situation. You could put both mics on the same speaker, for instance, put them both on A, or have one on A, one on B, or both on B. And it really does give you quite a wide tonal palette. Now finally is this room. You've got the volume of the room. Of course, all the way down is completely dry. And it just adds the room in. It's not like a wet-dry mix. And then room has A and B. And this refers to the position of the microphones. So A is closer to the source. And B is out in the middle of the room. Okay, so let's play another example, and let's get into the crunch sounds here. Now, Kent will go so far into the crunch and distortion territory. That is one of the things, by the way, that the Nebula technology, it's okay. It's not bad. If you're looking for something really highly overdriven, like the red-hot AC30 sound or with some pedals in front, then there's some tricks you can do to get even a little bit more gain out of it. We'll get into that. But let's take these knobs and ease them back a little bit right now. You can hear the different channels. Normal channel. Brilliant. Let's go only brilliant, which is going to be pretty bright. Bit more treble. Let's crank up the normal too. So not bad. Quite a bit of crunch, quite a bit of gain, quite a bit of dynamic response. And in fact, what Kent is really good at is that half breakup sound, and that's where, a lot of amps in the past haven't been, they've done clean okay and like really distorted okay, but that in between those dynamics, I hope that you're hearing the same that I am, it's really represented as you play dynamically.
Too much power, too much class, it's all too much.
So one thing you could do if you want to squeeze a little bit more gain out of it is use a limiter, a clean limiter before the amp, which in this case I've just got one of the Reaper stock limiters. This is the MGHAS limiter. I like it. It's transparent and doesn't have a lot of latency, so it's good for filming videos. Let's put this on and see if we can get a bit more juice out of it. Another thing I found that you can do is just limit a little bit of the top end going in between, and that, not just for this amp, but really for any kind of amp, distortion pedals. If you don't want a lot of the really, really top fizz, just take it out before. That's going to help you reduce aliasing. It's a great trick. I always do it on my bass, and if I start to hear a little too much in the very top end, stick a filter on there. In this case, it's just a Butterworth filter that comes with Reaper, and I've taken out just a bit of top end beforehand. It makes a little bit of a difference in all the things you do, of course, add up to the final result. Another thing, of course, that you can do is run a pedal before Kent, either a software plug-in pedal or a hardware pedal while you're recording. It takes pedals extremely well, very close to a real amp. As far as I could see, no big surprises there. Sounds the way that you would expect, as long as you keep the level going into it in check. And in this case, I figure let's listen to a Tube Screamer. This one's from Mercurial. There's a free plugin, by the way. They have a couple of really great free plugins that have been used for years. This one is the Tube Screamer 808 called the TSC. Let's give it a listen. Mercurial also has the Greed Smasher, which is a bit dirtier, a bit thicker sounding, not quite as much mid-range emphasis. It's a little more aggressive. Let's listen to this. So it's still got that ring to it. It's got that beautiful room, which I always want to add too much when I hear that, because both the A and the B settings on that room are like, awesome. And, but you can put stuff in front of it too. If you need more distortion, if you need a bit more crank to it. And I think it's a fantastic foundation to build tones. So, of course, the AC30 is all over everything. It's on album after album, artist after artist, since the 60s. The Shadows, the Beatles, the Stones, the Who, Zeppelin, Tom Petty, into the 80s with The Cure, the 90s with Nirvana, and on Queens of the Stone Age albums, on Foo Fighters albums for the clean tones. It's on everything, and if you're a guitar player, of course, you already knew this. But let's get to how Kent handles pedals. I've recorded a bunch of examples. Let's start off with this. This is the Boogie V1 Bottle Rocket. This is a dual AX7 overdrive. And I chose this first because it's a very soft distortion. It's got soft clipping in that it goes from clean to distorted very gradually. The clip has a very rounded curve, and that is what the Vox is known for. That's partially due to the lack of negative feedback in the circuit design, but that's getting above my pay grade anyway. Let's just hear how this pedal sounds through the Kent. Next up would be the venerable Rat pedal. This is a 1980s white face, at least it used to be white face. Now it is metal and corroded metal face waiting to be sanded down and repainted face. Classic pedal, classic tone nonetheless. Let's hear how that came out. Next up, the very thrifty Joyo Octa Fuzz pedal, set for fuzz, set for octave, and let's hear how that sounds through Kent. And last but not least, I call them the Terror Twins. You're a guitar player, you know what these are, and you probably own them. You should own them. Let's go with this one. DS1, Boss DS1. This particular example we could have used the grunge pedal, but Kurt Cobain wouldn't let us, so we're going with this one. Kent from SoundDrops. I hope you check it out. I hope you heard like I did how awesome that sounds. I hope you like, I hope you subscribe. I hope this was helpful, and we'll see you next time on Obsessive Audio.